Since yesterday, there's a lot of news on the social media as well as in the TV channels, and there are debates about the H1B visa fees, which is $100,000 per visa. And there is a confusion whether it is per year or it's going to be for one-time processing fee, and who will be impacted. Lot of discussions happening whether the Indian IT services, whether they will be impacted highly, or whether it is a different set of peoples. So I had put across a few questions across to AI because it is envisaged AI is going to take jobs. So I had made an attempt whether AI is able to provide me with some answers, and I used Copilot, that is Microsoft Copilot, to get the answers. So the question I'm trying to address, or I'm trying to find out, is classified into two major parts. One, who is going to be impacted? We know corporates who employ the H1 visa holders, the corporates, and again in the corporates, whether it's going to be US based corporate, in the sense it could be Microsoft, Amazon, or Intel, uh, or anyone else. Even the small companies in US do process the H1Bs. So whether it is US based companies or whether it is Indian IT service, particularly IT services companies process major chunk of H1. That is what is said. H1B is major. Some of the major chunk is processed by Infi, Infosys, TCS, Wipro, or Cognizant. Whether it is in Indian based, who would be impacted more? And again, the individuals, whether they are in India and processing H1, and whether it is folks in US and getting it transferred to H1. Probably they have gone as a student on an F1 to study MS, and then naturally when they go um, uh, into the corporate to work, they have to transfer it into H1B visa. Yes, they could use the OPT visa, but that's a maybe 1 year, then extendable to another couple of years. So naturally, they have to transition into H1B. So whether they are going to get impacted, corporates or individuals. So those are the question I had put across to the co-pilot. And the first question I had put across is that it is this piece. What they say is this piece is only for H1B, but then there are other visa component types as well, like L1, and there is also O1. Recently, I'm hearing about O1 visa, individual with extraordinary ability. I don't know how, what is a benchmark to say this individual is extraordinary? It's very, very difficult, but yes, nevertheless, when compared to H1, probably who is classified as extraordinary, maybe US has some terms and condition who could qualify for extraordinary. I'm not sure on that. So, keeping that aside, if you look at the estimated share over here, 60% or at least max 70% is H1. So remaining 30% is still there, who is not going to be impacted on this processing fee of the 100,000 USD. 100,000 USD is a significant amount that could impact the real H1B program, because for a corporate investing so much, whether it is project or something else, whether it will turn out profitable is a big question mark for them. So we don't know how they are going to overcome that, but still it's only 60 to 70%. The rest 30% over here could be L1, O1s, and others. You have EB2, you have investors, TN, and J1 exchange. So these types of visa, and predominantly if you look at L1, most of the Indian IT services, I believe it is on L1. Even I had gone in 2005, somewhere in 4 5. Around that time, it was on the L1 intercompany transfer. This is used, and so there is always the other options are there. So 60%, of course, that's a majority. And there is also an interesting trend which gave this again provided by Copilot. H1 remains dominant. L1 and O1 are gaining traction due to fewer restriction and no annual capacity. Now there is, this is probably it is the latest data I would have not got. Latest data in that 100,000 fee, that part is not yet come. So if that comes through, then L1 O1 could be even more gaining traction. There is more and more L1 could come through than H1. So that means the first, based on the first slide, it is not just the H1. There are other visa types also, though it is almost 50% less. Still, there are options, because in any case, there is no capacity for L1 and O1. That makes it much more versatile and might be easier to approach. Also, we don't know. I do not know, frankly speaking. So this is the trend. So keeping that aside, there is one more component I try to find out, because there are. It's quite common compared to earlier 90s and 2000, when generally a person from India goes to US. It is 99% they were going on H1B. They rarely took a route of F1, that is going and doing MS over there. It's only around mid or late 2000, that is around 2010 onwards, going on a student visa has become very common. They go there on an F1, complete MS, and then take the H1B, and you have a capacity, I mean cap over here. 20,000 is exclusively marked for H1, because processing from here takes time, other challenges. So they go on an MS over there and then get transferred in H1. And 20,000 out of total 85,000, each solid 25,000 is for the US master degree holders. So considering there are 1 million, there is one more point, 1 million, all this again, I said, Copilot output, it's not my output, not from any website or any other article. It's from Copilot output, which gave AI output, which gave. So 1 million active F1 holders at any point, any given point, not or eligible or interested in H1. So probably it is somewhere around 1/5 or 1/10 can really qualify for H1, but that still could be a significant chunk, I believe. And again, I don't think so. Much of the sites, this immigration site, would have given that as well. Though it is set as 85,000, we do not know in the 65,000 general how many are the students category which get into the general. So those information, it's very difficult. Nevertheless, the point we need to see here is that if you are a student already, would have incurred about, in Indian rupee, it's about anywhere between 60 lakhs to 1 crore, uh, 2 years fees plus your living expenses can come to in that range, somewhere about 60 to 60, depending upon the type of college, 60 lakhs to 1 crore. And in addition to that, if this 100,000 k is going to be for H1, it becomes highly unattractive for an employee to, because what happens is generally student go there, get F1, then they get into some big tire companies on OPT, optional practice training. That is maybe they get into there as an intern, work for some time, and then yes, the company appreciates the candidate's effort, then yes, the H1B gets processed. And so more and more I find more and more people who have gone there on F1 gets converted into H1. So before this one, I just wanted to show another slide. So this is again, as I said, it's given by Copilot. 80% are, who is the, which is the base company, whether it is, the question was whether it is a US based company or Indian based company. The info it gave was 80% are US based company, which is, could be like Amazon, Meta, or for that matter Intel. So many IT I mean product companies are there, Microsoft of course, and many smaller companies could also sponsor you. So 80% major chunk is done by US based company. Only 20% is based on the Indian based companies, which could be like your Cognizant, TCS, or anything. That means another point we need to hear out is that there are layoffs happening, particularly in US, and that is happening with Intel, Amazon, Microsoft. You name these IT companies, they have been a layoff, and that include major chunk also included the H1B visa holders. When their layoff is happening, then 60 days window comes in, and then they need to get transferred. So I believe, I may be right or wrong, I believe that is where the Indian company can sponsor them if like TCS or Cognizant can sponsor them or take them, that means the count could come into the Indian based company's account. If there is, for example, ex Indian based who has done F1 and had a H1B with Amazon, probably that's an example with Amazon, some layoff happened and it is recruited by TCS, then that head from Amazon, I believe it goes into, because the transfer happened, yes, then it has comes to TCS or Infi. And again, all these IT services is now working. They have done most of them. It's only the folks who have to be in contact with a client are the leads. Out of there are 10 people who are working on a project, about 7 to 8 will be based out of India. Maybe one, max two in the project will be based in US in whatever visa, H1 or L1. So the point here is 80% still based on. That's where there is a articles, flash news happening that most of the US based company is were asking their employees not to travel outside US or ensure to come back to US prior date. So that clearly rings the alarm that it is basically the US based company because their sponsorship is high, and that's where there could be a trouble. And again, this could be substantiated with this chart. I just asked who are the top H1B sponsoring companies in 2024, except 3 to 4 Indian. That is, second is Infosys, and you have TCS, and you have HCL, and you have also Cognizant. So you have about what, close to 10 companies out of 10. It is 4 is Indian based, and the rest are US based companies. And definitely their numbers are higher. So that will agree with my this slide as well. So 80%, it is not just my slide, it is what Copilot has provided me. So this, based on whatever analysis information I had got from Copilot, the impact, I believe it's going to be more on the American based companies, um, because their sponsorship on H1 is much more than Indian based companies. That is point number one. Number two, the impact, because the rest of the visas, they don't have any challenges, L1 and all, and hardly not many US based companies could have, I believe, not on L1. So H1 is there. Indian based companies can do an L1 there. So that way, it is from an individuals who could be impacted. Naturally, it will be the students who go on the for masters. They take the OPT. They are at on site at the US based company location. They work and then they have to get into H1B. So that way, their investment, I'm not talking who is, it is supposed to be employee who has to pay 1 lakh or 100,000 USD as fee. So it becomes unattractive for the American based company to invest so much upfront, that is 100,000 K. Or if the candidate can, it's going to be highly difficult for candidate to give, because already he could be on a debt, because the tuition fees, living expenses itself could be about the same amount, 60 lakhs to 1 crore. So it is difficult for them to manage the situation. Those who are particularly, whatever the communication is coming out is going to be a challenge for the students who go there. But the trend is, the last few years, the trend is whoever is graduating engineering in top engineering colleges, majority of them go for postgraduate degree in, particularly for US. Majority of them go there, take a depth route. I mean, they take an education loan and go there. But now, added to it, this complexity of the fees is going to make it totally unattractive. So these, I believe, because based on this information, one is the impact could be more to American company when compared to Indian companies, IT services company. And number two is that individuals, those who have already on visa, on a different visa, particularly the student visa, already they would have invested in debt, plus this overhead, which could I mean, which could rob their attractiveness of being in US because of this fees. So another one point, and the last point is also here. American giants like dominate the sponsorship landscape. So I hope with this short video, you got the information like who would be likely to be impacted more. But these are early days. We need to see how it progresses. More information comes through because I mean, yesterday they were saying like if you are from outside and going back to India, then there could be a challenge. But today there are information that no, it is only for new sponsorship, not for the old one. So a lot of information is trickling through. So we'll get more clarity as we progress. But given the situation, I think it could be still good days for the Global Capability Center, because in the last 7 to 10 years, there are many global capability center, that is a broad-based company who has set up these global-based capability center in India. This can go from strength to strength. The point is, again, as far as computer science or information technology is concerned, location shouldn't be a constraint, considering that everyone has an internet and you have a cloud-based approach rather than on-premises. High-speed internet is there, and then from a learning perspective, there is adoption is more on the open source or on a free tier. So learning-wise, location shouldn't be constrained. Considering all this, yes, you can judge for yourself with this information who is likely to be impacted more. So thanks for hearing me out. Thanks and cheers.